But we start now with, in the same pile, take a little green now, mix in with it. You can add a touch of sienna if you want to, a little purple. As long as you stay, this time we're not wanting those real deep colors yet. You just want some soft grayish tones to mix in. Now you're going to need to add white as you go. Always have your gesso handy, because as you go from one value to the next, it's the white that helps blend it. Now notice again, I'm still using these nice long horizontal strokes. But now the difference here is I'm going to start becoming a little more specific. See, I'm being a little bit more moving. They're still horizontal, but they're a little more controlled horizontal strokes. And you can start seeing a little movement. And by that I mean you're seeing the movement of the brush, not just such a straight stroke, okay? Now again, it's important that you don't have a real hard line. Be sure there's softness there and that the paint's on thick enough that it covers the canvas good, and then you'll be in business. Okay. Now, as we come into this first area here, this is where our first layer of waves are. That's going to be a darker color, okay? So now we take our Hooker's green, a little purple, and a touch of blue, and we darken this, and we go ahead and we just dry brush in the location of this little movement of the waves right there. Excuse me. Now remember, this is only underpainting. It kind of comes out into the, sort of flattens out as we go from the big rise there. Now, don't be afraid to make this fairly dark in here, because you've got to have the dark contrast in order for us to do what we have to do on the next step or two. Notice it's a big comma stroke. Now as you come out into this main body here, and notice I'm going back to make sure the edges are a little softer. You're going to have an edge, but it's not hard. Now as you come out here, you start adding your white to sort of change the value and the lightness of it. You don't want it to be quite so dark. And see how I'm using these little choppy strokes. Just watch the brush, the tip of the brush move now, see? It's fairly turbulent, see, in this part of the painting. As you come down into it, it's really neat to watch it develop. See, I'm just adding white to the paint that's on the brush, blending in with some of the paint that's in the wave, and then you got it. Now, here's where the fun begins, though. As you come out of that wave, out into the main body of the water, you have to make a conscious decision of where you're going with your color scheme now. Are you going to, and you know, oceans are so different because, you know, if the sun's hitting them just right, you can get very fluorescent colors, you can get reds and grays, and you can get just a myriad of colors. Now, we're going to take, and I'm going to go with the more blue now, maybe a touch of purple. And you'll notice it's a much richer, deeper, grayish blue. Now add white as you go. Now white again is your blending color. See how I'm adding that as I go? To make sure that I'm blending really well into the color before it. Very, very important. Okay, I just keep coming forward. And notice I put a little more green in there. The secret to a good ocean is contrast, pockets of contrast, dark and light, and soft values, movement, brush stroke, constantly moving. This is one of those paintings for those of you that have a lot of extra energy you need to get rid of. This is a great opportunity for you. Now, once we establish this part of the painting, then we'll come back and block in our rock formations, because we need to see how we're going to establish the movement of the waves as they crash against the rocks. But you know, everything has a starting point, everything has an ending, everything has a middle. And right now we're sort of at the beginning, and we have to start somewhere, and this is where we best start this. But notice the excitement already we're generating in this painting. I see by putting the white in there and kind of moving it up, using little choppy comma strokes, it already looks turbulent. All right. My main thing is to get focused back right in through here where we see the main body of water and where the waves are going to be crashing. Now we may even, let's just take a look at this. We may even want to have another wave here that's similar to this one right in this area. It will help sort of act as a balance, okay? So let's go ahead and put a little darker value right there using the green and the purple and the blue. Now remember, watch the purple because it can get you in trouble. And another thing too, you want to watch the green. I mean, you've got a lot of things you have to be careful about in a painting like this. You don't want it to be way too green or way too purple or way too blue. Now, if you're doing a commission for somebody or for yourself and you just simply need those colors for decorative reasons, then you can probably get away with it, even if it's technically incorrect. There's a lot of times you can paint and do things and it doesn't matter. I just finished judging an art show a few days ago, and the first thing I mentioned to all the people that were there was that I'm judging not based on personal preference, but on technical accuracy. And once I set the record straight as to why I judge these things, then everyone was at ease and it was a whole lot more fun, and they didn't tar and feather me and send me out. So it worked out really well. We had a great time, and those that won the main awards understood why. Those that didn't understood why they didn't, and it was a marvelous experience for them and for me too. I always enjoy judging an art show, and especially when some of them are my own students, and not a lot of them didn't win because they didn't follow the principles that we often talk about here. I see I'm adding touches of white as I go. These are smaller waves here, but they're important ones, so they still had contrast. And frankly, if you get good enough at this, and you eventually will, a lot of times, this is very much like an oil painter paints, it's sort of a wet on wet technique. A lot of times the strokes will be there and it's final. You don't have to go back and do anything else to it. And in this area right here, there's a good chance that is the case. Yes, we're going to white cap and put some of the values here that makes them look transparent, but sometimes the middle workings there can, quite frankly, be finished with just this quick stroke you put on there. Now, let's go around to this side. Now, this is where our bigger rock formation is going to be, and it's going to, frankly, be part on the sand and part above, and it's going to be a little more involved. So we need to build just a little bit of water around it here. I think we'll do that with the same brush, a little blue, sienna, and a touch of purple. And the color I'm not trying to match, even if it comes out bluer. In fact, I'm shooting for a little blue now in here. And so we're going to put that in just to scatter it throughout the painting. Because we have a little bit of it in the sky, of course, a little over here, so you want to balance the painting. So I'm going to scatter some blue in here. And what I mean by blue, it's not pure blue. It's got just blue, more blue in the mixture with the sienna, the purple, and of course the white. See how loose I'm being? Notice where I'm holding my brush. I haven't mentioned that in a while, and also I haven't talked to you as much about the three-piece. Don't piddle, play, or putter, but that's the motto on this show. And know that you can't piddle with this. If you just get up here and you start trying to make every wave fall into place and are very careful, I guarantee you're going to have more problems than you can shake a stick at. So be very loose, very free, just have fun, and I guarantee everything will fall right into place. And that's what you want. So have fun with it. Slow down or speed up, whatever you have to do. Just don't piddle. There's a big difference between being slow and accurate and slow and piddly. See, I may slow down in some places and be a little bit more concentrating on how the stroke falls, but I'm not just going to piddle with it until I've turned it to mud. Okay. A little bit over here, I put a little bit of this bluish color. This looks good against this rock and this dark green. And also another point to remember here, as you're putting this on, put it on thick enough, folks. I'm telling you, be sure that the canvas is covered. And I always look for places where it's not covered, and there's a spot right back here that needs to be covered a little bit more. Even though we may cover it with some waves or some splashes, I want to get a little darker value right there and make sure that canvas is covered. Okay. All right, now let's think about our rock formation here, and this is probably wet, so I'm not sure our charcoal will show up that much, but it show up some. These are fairly jagged rock formations that will come right in here. You can do ocean scenes without rock formations, and so if you choose to do that, just learn to compose the painting so that it has a good balance. That's all that really matters, okay? Like your wave may be moved over or may be angled differently. You may have different shifts in the layering of the waves. But I always like to add the rocks. One, it's personal. I love rocks. Most of you know that. But it also adds that dimension that adds a little contrast, not just in color, value, and composition. I mean, and just dark and light, but it adds that compositional. And we're going to start the process of coming from back to forward. Just kind of start all over, just a whole different format. And then now we're adding our intermediate and our final details. Start first with our number 6 bristle brush. And the first thing I want to do, I think, is go ahead and put some of the white on top of the waves here to kind of give it just a little subtle, you might say, a movement, okay? And the way we do this is just take pure white, and that's what I use my easel for. I kind of smudge it there, kind of also as a palette. And what I'm going to do is just kind of roll my brush. I'm not going to make an outline. I'm going to just start like this, and I'm going to just sort of roll it. See, I'm using the side of the brush, and whatever parts of the brush hits it as I kind of twist, see I'm twisting it, that gives it sort of the look that it's coming over. Now we will splash up higher in some places, but right now you just barely skim the surface. Just barely twist it. And it's a fairly soft thing. It's not a real hard edge, but see how neat that looks? It already creates a nice movement to the wave. And as we come forward into the rest of the painting here, we're going to start building some of the white caps that you see. So we take our white now, and a little bit of blue. Now in this, it's okay if other colors, like if you want to add a little yellow, a little orange, a little purple, as long as the main feature is white. See, for instance, I'm going to put it up here, and it's going to look really light and white against this darker color, but the truth is it's kind of a grayish tone. Well, that's what you want. Now, what you're going to do is come in through here and use sort of swishing motions like this. And I'm using more of the tip of the brush. I'm just kind of dabbing, but yet I'm moving at the same time. I don't want to get in a pattern of any kind anywhere. Every once in a while, if you get a stable spot in the water that's not moving too much, you can create some fairly organized strokes, but that's only a short spot there. See, like right there now, I'm going to come right into my waves. So a little bit lighter, a little whiter. Over here against the base of the rocks. Now here's a fun spot to work. I'm going to wipe my brush out a little bit. Now I'm going to push the brush up like this. Well, let's start right back here. Now see, those of you that have been doing the landscapes a lot, this is a technique that you already know. This is just the same exact technique we use for making grass. But now you're going to use it to create, see the beautiful misty effect? Let me get a little more paint. Comes right up underneath that rock, separates that one from this one. Then you create a little more mist down here in the front. So you just pull it upward. And you kind of go back into a mode of more conventional strokes. This is a great technique. And believe me, folks, I have met some of the top artists in the country and around the world, and most of them use similar ways of painting. I have to admit, some can master it better than others. Some are better at this stroke than I am, but you have to realize that this is the basic technique, and if you practice it enough, you'll finally get the hang of it. But isn't that beautiful? Look how realistic that looks. I mean, almost, in a sense, you can make it either photographic or very impressionistic. You can go to either extreme using this technique. Now, as you go across here, you want to pick up and make the paint a little more opaque. See, like especially right in through here. See, I'm making it just a little more opaque. This is the area where it's probably it's breaking as it goes up, and before it turns into a mist, it's still a fairly solid, collection of water. Boy, I got some orange in there. A little too strong. But this, at the base now, is where you want to have their whitest whites. See, I'm just barely touching. I wonder why you kind of pick one up like that, like that. See, I'm working the edges here, kind of softening. Now notice as I do that, how it looks like the water's kind of falling over. This is a good spot right there where that rock and that wave is, and that little dark pocket. See, it's perfect. It creates a nice shadow. And then I'm pulling the water over. Now, every one of you can do this a little differently, but the concept is the same. Okay. You can work your way down into this, and see, I'm just sort of dry brushing. Now, boy, isn't this exciting? I love this part of the painting. It really looks good. Now then, let's go over on this side. I'll do some similar things. Let's go back here and just kind of dry brush in some of the whites, this, as it built up to the wave movement. So I want that a little bit lighter right there, and that really helps to pull the contrasting darker wave out. Now while I've got this light color, I'm going to come right in through here, and I'm going to begin building. Now it's important that you don't get carried away. Now see, there's a little spot right there where it looks like maybe a secondary wave, a smaller one that's coming in. All right, on across. See, I'm just kind of dabbing and smudging little bits and pieces of this highlight color, and that's what starts to give it its refined, you might say, look. And in some cases, like I said before, more of a finished effect, and you don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Through here, scatter a little bit. Really, these are the white caps. I travel a good bit as I teach in different places, and I love to sit by the ocean and just watch the waves crash. Listen to the sound and the seagulls and the salt air, and as you're painting, all those things come back to you. But notice how neat that's starting to look. It's very turbulent here. As it gets in here, it starts to getting a little bit subtle. Now right in through here is a great spot to build some more movement. So we're going to take the white, add a little bit of blue to it, make not a real bright, not a real white, more of a bluish white. And this is where we'll build in some splashes. The first phase of the splashes on the back side of these rock formations. See, I'm just kind of flick my brush up, and it creates these little soft lines, a very dry brush type effect. And you curve it back this way, because when it hits the rock, it's going to splash against it and bounce back, and that's what causes the little curl. As opposed to a wave, that's just pure force from the movement of the water underneath, building up momentum, and it creates this sort of undercurrent. Here it's caused by crashing up against something solid. Now, I'm not trying to be any real specific at this point. I'm just trying to create some soft movement of splashes of highlight back behind these rocks. And it's a much whiter white than you see elsewhere. More of a bluish white, which makes it look real white. Okay, a little up in here. Now over here, this is going to be kind of fun. Notice that's on pretty thick there. Come right up above, behind. Now this is very important. It's kind of scary. See, I'm kind of dry brushing. This is the scumbling technique. Many of you have done this before when we've done trees and bushes, and it's very similar to that. Remember, this is a large rock, and there's a lot of force of water coming behind hitting it. You can't see the wave hitting this rock because it's in front of us. But this is the splash on the back side that it's being caused by that. So this is an important concept, and it's also part of the composition. It's our eye stopper. It pulls us back in towards the main part. But right now what we need to do is come back, and these two waves particularly need just a little help, all right? And what we're going to do is take our number 6 bristle brush, and in this case I'm going to use a little phthalo yellow green. Now this is where phthalo yellow green comes in handy. Take a little yellow green, just pretty much by itself. You can add a touch of white to it if you'd like, and I think I will. But it's a great color to work with for putting some transparency to the waves. And what you want to do is just find some areas where you're going to dry brush in just a little bit of this greenish tone. See, it's a very soft green. You kind of go up into the main body of the wave, following the contour. Since it's a dry brush stroke, you can almost get away with any direction, but if you're going to make an actual stroke, you've got to follow the contour. Now, you don't want to lose all your contrast, folks. That's very important. So it's just touches of it. There's not a major anything. You just barely touch it. And see, that adds a real good effect. Now you can scatter some of this throughout the rest of the painting just to help tie it together. It's interesting how this green really adds life to the painting. You can scatter it in different places. You can even throw it around on the rocks. You can scatter a little bit around in the ground. Folks, this is what true painting is all about. Learning how to make all your colors work together for you so that the painting has continuity. Now, once you've got a little bit of that in there, now we're going to go back and finish the capping of the waves. Now this is not a hard thing to do, and there's a lot of ways to do this. But I take this same brush, this number 6 bristle, and I clean it out real good, and I'm going to use pure white for this. And I just take the gesso, just real pure and kind of thick, and I get me a spot, and I just get it right on the end. Now what I like to do is come in and just dab straight on like this. You kind of let it come down like it's kind of hooking over slightly. Any place there's a white cap or a little movement of the water, you're probably going to have this. Now you can also use a little bit of a splashing technique. A lot of people will do that. But I like to dab because this gives you a little texture. See how cool that looks? Now, especially when you get here and over in here, this is really an important step. Because the white cap is really critical. See, it doesn't take much either, just a quick touch. Now here's where you have to get kind of careful and a little more specific. See, you want to get this splashing in, but you don't want to look patternized. You know, the water just going everywhere. But these are the splashes back behind that we have to get in there, and a little bit over the edge of the rock. See, that's why we don't finish that out right away. We come at the end. And don't be afraid to get this up fairly tall, because see, that's a big splash behind there. It really adds a lot of character. Just really exciting. Good spot right in here to have a lot of fun. We're working around the edges of these rocks and kind of around the edge here. And then one of the last things that I'll do is take my toothbrush and we'll splatter some final splashes, little up around there. Put a little of this over here. And what this does is it creates the texture, okay? Yeah, then you take your your toothbrush in the pure white again, and you want to create a real fine mist if you can manage that. And usually the way you get a fine mist is you work the paint in real good to your brush, and then you flick off the excess first, either somewhere else or whatever, and then you just get up there and you just sort of splatter like this, and this creates a real fine mist. It's good to put it over the edges of the rocks here and there. See, I'm just barely skimming the top of the brush so that it doesn't splatter too far. But it adds just such a nice touch to it. Yeah, you know we use this for creating snow and fog and mist and all kinds of things, but something about a toothbrush splattering, even, heck, I know a lot of wildlife artists that splatter their whole paintings with different colors to help sort of tie the painting together. Sometimes they'll use it in their fur on the animals. But see, I'm going all through here. If you got any good white left over, sometimes it's good to kind of go ahead and hit a little more down here on the sand, especially at the base of the rocks, right in through here. Looks real good right along this shoreline right here. See, I'm doing this, kind of creating a little highlight right across there just by using my toothbrush. And if I'm doing it in a little more of an organized manner, it looks really more refined. I like that. Okay, so learn to use the toothbrush, folks. This is a great tool. It's one of the most effective tools that an artist can have, and it really adds so much character to your painting. It's been a lot of fun bringing you this painting. We're going to have a brand new one to start with in our next lesson, so God bless you. Stay inspired. Keep painting, and I'm going to see you again real soon right here on another Yarnell School of Fine Art.